This fall, the brightest minds in finance will flock to Florida for a weekend that will change your life, with insights from the brightest stars in the financial universe and an event that will bring them all together. Presenting the first annual T3 Live Finance Festival at the Mayfair Hotel and Spa in Coconut Grove, Florida, for a weekend you'll never forget and memories that will last a lifetime. The Finance Festival, a Todd Harrison production, brought to you by T3 Live and TradeStation. A portion of the proceeds to benefit the Ruby Peck Foundation for Children's Education and the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America. Friday, November 6th to Sunday, November 8th, 2015. Bring your spouse, tell your friends, make some noise, and take charge of your financial future. It's gonna be nuts. Space is limited, so act fast.
Good morning. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com, and welcome to today's morning call. It is Tuesday, another day, a day after the two-day huge move we just saw across the world, especially in our markets. So the question is, what now? Typically, huge potent moves do lead to more upside, but it would be nice to see, if we can get some kind of digestive process. How long will it be? Where will we hold? So that'll be our job to figure out moving forward to participate a little bit better. As far as overseas coming in today, Europe started negative, went positive, still acts well. You go to the HEDJ, which we did show you recently, how we held this lower area. Everyone was talking about, would we retest the lows here in the U.S.? Well, over in Germany, you had your low on August 24th. Here was your retest. Here was Friday's potent move to the upside, and then even more follow-through. So at this particular point, next big resistance here in the HEDJ comes in closer to 58. If you bought on this reversal and used the low as a stop, you're in the money really well. If you took home, some things Friday into yesterday, you could have also pick and choose where you wanted to sell it. At this point, I would write down 56.26. The longer we stay above that and go sideways, the higher the probability this upper area gets tested. As far as Asia, not much of a headwind there. A lot of places have been rallying. The Shanghai has been closed. I think that opens up on Wednesday. The ASHR, which we talked about, this lower wedge or this lower pivot. Last time we got a lot of volatility over here was, first of all, after, it broke trend right there. And then after you had this little wedge type pattern that resolved to the downside. This time everyone thought it had to be to the downside, but as of now wound up being a bit to the upside, even with the close, which made a little bit of a tailwind here versus a headwind. So now the question is what to do, if you were caught short from Friday through yesterday, or if you were not as risk on as you would have liked to have been. You have to figure out what type of pullback we're going to have and how do you buy the dip as we pack and fill for what could be higher prices. So you go to the SPX, this is your lower range. Yesterday I talked about taking profits into what could be a decent resistance area. First of all, here's your August 24th lows. Here was your retest, and look at this. Red dog reversal right here. If you bought this 1879 level with the low of the prior day at 1871, 8 handles, never went below it, you just probably caught yourself one of your best moves of the year. Anyway, so the question is, what type of pullback do we have? So there are lots of ways to go about that. One way, which I'm sure BP would agree with me, is by using your Fibonacci retracements. You go to this low, you attach it all the way up to yesterday's peak to figure out what level would it hold, or what level do we hold to measure the strength of the recent move. So right here you have 1957, which actually feels as if that would be quite a ways down. So if you start buying today a little early, you'd be in trouble. And then you have the 0.382%, which is 1942. So I would write down 1957, 1942. Anything above this 1942 moving forward, chances are, next move would be well through this level, and then we test, higher resistance. Let's do the same thing with the spiders, because a lot of us trade the spiders intraday, plus you have a gap. So I guess you could do this two ways. You go to Fibonacci retracements. You can go from this low, which would take you up here to yesterday's high, and the 25% retracement comes in right around 195.73, and that would mean we'd be pushing a little bit below yesterday's gap of 196.33. So that would shake the envelope a little bit. So maybe if we did come here, pushed below, came back above, then you have your new pivot to buy. And then you have the 0.382 percentage, which is 194.18, which, I don't think we get that. If we get that, it might be in, take a few sessions. And if we do, it still would be okay to then go higher. Let's take this off because I wanted to show you one other thing, I guess. Let's go delete. Look at me, I'm getting used to this stuff, okay? Some would draw the fib retracement from this move, from where we started, okay? Because we started there on Friday, so that would, take you up to the 0.25 retracement, which would be holding the gap, and then the 0.382 would be if we filled the gap here. So, anyway, I would write down 196.33, okay? Then know where, if we get into the gap, where the gap gets filled, and then I would say somewhere around this 194, if we were to see it in the coming sessions, which we might not even see it, that would be more of your compelling buy. So, and if those levels don't hold, then, we're right back into this range, and all the bears who call this just, a short squeeze bear market rally, they're right. But I tend to think that, we hold, and this two-day potent move does give us clues that we will be higher at some point, in the future. Okay, so with that said, we go to some sectors. The IBBs that led us up, okay, on that Friday, came in yesterday. Okay, here was your retest of that August 24th low. This was your pivot to buy or add if you had bought in here. And then yesterday, you had a little bit of a fade into resistance. So with that being said, from here to there, nice little sell. So, as of now, yesterday's low in the IBB is 308. If it trades below it, I think then you have this 305 as a spot to potentially buy. I think that this would be a decent area here, and this would probably be your line in the sand, right around this 298. If it doesn't hold this, then people are going to start saying that this was just your reflex move and now we're back through the lows. One of the culprits today for the weakness in bios is ILMN. They came out, and I think they warned. So if you look at the chart of ILMN, your peak was 240. It's already been fully, crushed, and now it's going to be down another, 24 points. So let's see. Some guys are asking me where is support. You do have support coming around here, a little bit north of 140. And then you have a much bigger area down here, which is right into this zone. So, the question is today, actually this is what, 133. We've already had a move from 240. We've already had a move from 207. It's down 24 points. Can you buy it, and is it priced in? So what I would do in something like this is, I would wait. It's down 24 points. Let it put a 15-minute low in. If you want to buy or you want to try and buy it, versus that low, comes off the low, maybe you get a trade, and then if it builds off it, maybe, it closes down 15 versus 24, and then you got yourself a nice little, buy the volatility. But if it, is down 24 points, bounces $4, and then comes back in and breaks that 30-minute low or 15-minute low, just get out of the way, because you never know where these things are going to go. And then that'll probably help dictate the action in the IBBs. Moving along, you have the Qs, pretty much showing some power. It too came right into some bigger resistance. Right, oh, look at that. It's right back at the 200-day, first sector at the 200-day in a while. At this point, see if the market's strong enough to hold the gap here. This is 104.55. If it were to break that and they shake the envelope, I would think that this spot closer to 103, 103.50 would be a very compelling spot to buy. From here to there, this is support 1, this would be support 2. So we shall see, what technology looks like. You do have a deal in the semis, PMCS. Wow. Look at that move as if somebody knew what was going on, and now it got taken over north of 10. What a nice trade for some people who are in that. I'm not in that, but if you were, it definitely looked as if these people knew what they were talking about. I remember when the news hit back here. I guess next time news hits like that early, just buy some options to be in the game, because sometimes when it doesn't work out, you get crushed. But if you have the options, risk is premium paid. And those people who bought options in this, definitely are waking up to a nice move today. Let's start getting into some of the individual names that that acted best. My go-to list for my Redler Access node, you see I usually have about 20 stocks. That the first 6, 7, 8 of them are the ones that are the most in play. And if you look at Google reclaimed all its moving averages. It's one of the stocks, or what is this, Alphabet? No, Google. This was you pivot buy, and now it's right back into bigger resistance. So would a rest be good here? Yes. To then go sideways to then take this out. But again, sometimes in these types of tape you don't get that rest. So for now, write down 655 is key support, and if it happens to go green today and pushes above 673, your next resistance is 681. Amazon looks just as good, just as strong. It reclaimed all its moving averages. When you're above all moving averages, you do not short this name, except for a cutie. This one took back all the moving averages right around here. That was on Friday, gave you a follow through on Monday, and now you have recent resistance coming in here. This is the same thing. I'd love to see it rest a little bit, go sideways before taking out another move. But Google and Amazon are two of the best names out there. Netflix has also been acting pretty well. Netflix, we were talking about this earlier last week, when it cleared this spot right around 105. And then you had some follow through yesterday, reclaimed the 50-day. So today in this down open, I know I'll be looking to see if it could be bought to at least hold this level to go green. I'm long a little bit of this overnight. I'd like to see if I could buy maybe 109, 108, goes green again, and then this little bit of a trend has been cleared, so it is acting better. Netflix is in your better acting stocks camp. On the camp that's not acting as well is the Apples. Apple last week started to show some relative weakness while the market started to bounce, threw some people off, including me a little bit. At this point, it's still hanging around. It's down today. See what happens. You have two little levels to trade against. Yesterday it hit a low of 109 before bouncing, and now the real level is this. If this were to break this spot, okay, in the coming sessions, you'll definitely see some more weakness. So you're in this little box here below all the moving averages. Ever since it broke that 112.44, which we actually shorted, it's been acting relatively weak. Think of the move that the market just had, and Apple is just right here. So, I guess it'll be like that maybe until earnings. You look at the overall chart, Apple's been just a trade this entire year ever since breaking, this upper channel after missing on earnings. So we'll see what happens as we get a little closer to earnings. We did get some decent action off those August 24th lows, but again, rejected at the 200-day, and now, the jury's out. Tesla also didn't really act well in the recent 2-day move. It was acting well, actually kind of like Apple, right? It was acting well right here. You had your breakout above this pivot, then you had your one sell signal, and then you had that outside day sell signal when it broke this, and then hasn't really acted well, and now it was downgraded today by, I think, Morgan. So I guess see how it handles this low here. This low is 234. If you got short yesterday because the Dow was up 300 points and Tesla was down, you know what, you're probably making some money here. It's back below the 200-day, so we'll see how it acts there. As far as another stronger stock, it's a little sluggish, but it's still in the stronger camp, and that's the FIT. It did pull off highs yesterday. I would say, if it could hold this little spot here, hold just say this 37 at some point. If buyers really want to come back, your next buy area would be above 39, but it has to have authority. Last time you had a big, powerful move, it's pulled back, never went back below these lows like a lot of names. So it's kind of in the game where the institutions are trying to accumulate it, but we'll see if that continues. In social media land, Facebook has been rebuilding, lots of two-way trades. The better trade has been to the upside. It is also, like Google and Amazon, above all moving averages, which shows signs of accumulation and health. Took it back on Friday, so now see if it could hold above yesterday's low and digest. That level is 92.66, and if it can, I think this is one of the stocks that are set up the best in order to take out the highs of the year if earnings deliver. Above moving averages, held in well. This is that 3-day pivot, and see if it can go. Then you even have Twitter, which had a rare 2-day rally on volume. This stock has been absolutely annihilated. If you look at it, very broken from the 50s. First 2-day move, it would be nice to see if this could continue. It did have some volume yesterday also. They have their CEO back. Their products definitely look like they have more advertising, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll see, if there's commitment. Commitment would be right around here. Hopefully it holds above this to then continue, maybe even goes green today. If that's the case, it can go. You go to like basic studies, just to take a look here real quickly, see if I can get this in. Insert, oh, I was just saying, where was insert study? Hold on, one more time. Boom. Insert study, no, it's insert, all right, whatever. I'll get this one day. But there was volume the past 2 days, which shows maybe some shorts got, squeezed and some money came in, so we'll see if there's commitment there. LinkedIn gave you a 2-day move too. Broken names, but they have a little bit of room. So, there is some talk that the energy sector could be an out-of-performer in the fourth quarter, which I think could happen because, if you remember last year, they were annihilated, and everyone thought, oh, I could buy them in the first quarter for a second quarter bounce. Well, I think those who bought the first quarter and bought the second quarter probably capitulated into the third quarter, and now with the type of move we just saw, recently there's some clues that maybe the fourth quarter is when they get their bounce because many people give up on it. So anyway, the XLE gave you your first real, potent move here. Took back the 21-day, gave you a gap up. I would say, this area has to hold. It'd be good if it holds the gap, but hold this area, go sideways, and then your next move could be above yesterday's high. Just remember, this group has been absolutely annihilated. And if you did get out when the macro sell signals, this was your intermediate sell signal. Here was really your macro sell signal below the 200-day. If you got out there, I know a lot of guys accumulated in the beginning of the year, looked great, and then probably capitulated out through here. So now down here, when nobody wants them, maybe you get to move back to there. So, don't just short this group blindly, but again, it's got a lot to prove. But it does seem as if this first 2-day move, if it were to hold this for a little bit, can continue. They threw the kitchen sink at oil. You look at the USO, and after everyone trying to accumulate it here, well, they all got their clock cleaned as well when it broke this inside range. So here we are with another lower range. So the question is, what's next here? They couldn't break it down when Goldman said $20, and now we'll see if it can get any traction. Here was your day one igniting bar that gave you 3 days of gains. Here is support that held at 1420, and now it's still hanging in there. Maybe now it holds the upper end of the range. So instead of holding 1430, maybe it holds like 1465, and then next move, could be a bit through this little trend line. Some of the gold bugs have been emailing me saying, hey, look at silver, look at gold. They participated. All right, we'll see what happens. GLD, again, I guess you could say after this low, came up to resistance and, failed, which is what it did. Oops, sorry, hold on. But then did not fall apart. So here's that resistance, came down. You have another gap here. This friggin' is so gappy. Now you have an island bottom versus an island top. I guess if the GLDs were to take out yesterday's high of 109.38, next move could be, through that trend line, which has been in control. It's been in control for a long time. I don't know what it means macro-wise, but granted, it is acting a little bit better, trying to hang in there. That's your next big inflection point on GLD. As far as silver, I haven't heard silver in a while. It too, had its first wake-up move. Doesn't mean, go out and buy yourself some silver chains. No. It means that maybe there's continuation. I think here is your, just like everything else, it feels like you had your, your easy money if you took it or you were there, where you your big gap up, close strong, you take it home, you got paid yesterday, and now, does it have room to the 200-day? Yes, but there'll be a lot of resistance there. So I guess for silver, see if it, holds 1477, goes sideways. It could actually even fill this gap because that's what they do. So I would say this is your line in the sand if you want to have some commitment to silver. The gold miners also had a 2-day move, first one in a while, but they typically get sold, so I wouldn't be so excited, but I guess it's worth noting. Here is, day one, there's your day two. There is resistance up here if it wants to continue. Now you want to see it hold yesterday's low, go a little sideways for that, and that's the gold miners. I guess you look at something like silver Wheaton for silver. Looks similar, 2-day move off the, crazy lows where it got beaten to death in 2 days, and if you're looking for more, that's bigger resistance, and then here's another spot. So at this point, 2 days. So if you took it here, you got paid yesterday. Not sure if you're going to get day 3 and day 4, but I promised I would put it into the morning call. So with that being said, the question is, we have the futures down 7-8 handles. Can you be a buyer quickly, or will they, just push people around and go a little bit lower and take a few more days because everyone's in such a rush if they miss this 2-day move. I showed you the retracements in the spiders and the S&P to figure out potentially where to, if you have a, like I'm sure I have 3 longs and I'm going to see if I could add to them today, but I'm short the spiders on the close, so I'll probably cover my spiders if we can get closer to 197, and then I'll look to see if I could buy them somewhere around yesterday's gap or 196.33, or see how we handle that zone with that bigger support, with more compelling support closer to 194, but I wouldn't think that would be today. That might be a little bit later this week. So I'm going to try and be patient. I think you should be patient. If you got squeezed out of your shorts yesterday because you rolled them up on Friday, it happens. Just don't let it happen again. If you missed the move on Friday into yesterday and you bought the close and you chased it and now we're down, okay, you were jumping out of your skin. If you missed, if you lost a little short and you got a little chopped up long, now put that behind you and figure out, if we do have a controlled pullback, what could you buy so you don't miss the next move, because the 2-day potency of the recent action should give you a move above yesterday's high at some point. The question is, when is that point? And that's what we'll try and figure out, which will make us the money for the week. Have a great trading day, and I will see you at the recap.